Okay, good morning. Welcome to my house. I live in Galway, on the west coast of Ireland, and I've got quite a few different products to show you regarding renewable energy and fuel saving systems. And the first one we'll start with is my wind turbine. Now this is a 2.5 kilowatt wind turbine, which means it's the maximum power it can produce is 2.5 kilowatts an hour, and it's made in the UK. So what we're going to do, we'll walk up to the wind turbine and we'll get close to it and we'll talk a little bit more from there.
Yep.
Okay, now so I'm standing at the base of the wind turbine here, as you can see. This is a galvanised tower which actually tilts down. I'll give you a closer look at that in a minute. If you just pan up to the top of the turbine there, please. Very light winds. You can just hear a little whisper of it. Can you pan back down again, please? Can you come a bit closer now, please? Here, this is the cable that comes out of the turbine from the top, and it goes into this red sheath here, which protects the cable on the ground. And obviously, if we ever had to replace the cable, we can just pull the cable through this sheath. But this protects it from all sorts of stuff. And this is the armoured cable, comes down from the turbine down here. Also, while I'm standing here, this is what we call a guide tower. Just pan over here, as you can see these ropes, and there are adjusters here for adjusting the tightness to keep the ropes nice, to keep the tower nice and parallel up in the air, obviously. It's a 10 metre tower, that means 10 metres high. It pivots down from here, so you undo these bolts here and you can lower it down over here when you have to do some service. So that's the tower. Now we'll walk over to the house now. Okay, now as regarding location of turbines, people ask me where would I locate my turbine? Well, as you can see, the turbine from the house is about 40 metres. Really the minimum it wants to be is 30 metres from your house. And it's very easy. You've got to keep the turbine on high ground because it's a wind turbine and it's got to have wind. It can't be attached to a building, it can't be near a building because you get wind turbulence and it will affect the performance of your turbine. So you need to keep it out on its own. So the way of sighting the wind turbine is buy a cheap compass, get your compass and find where south is. Now I know south is over here, west is over here. Now 90% of our wind will come from the south and the west and the southwest. This is where all the wind comes from. So when locating the turbine, stand on your own site, find where south is and look to the west and you'll know where to put it. Now obviously you want to be away from the house, so like I say, a minimum 30 metres, up to 100 metres, doesn't really matter. You won't lose any power coming in from this location. But keep it high and keep it clear. Now if we look across the valley there, you can see a big valley where all the wind in the world comes up that valley and hits my turbine. So that's how you decide where to locate a turbine. So we'll leave it at that. The cable, as it's coming through our pipe here from the turbine, and as you can see now, it's going into the house here. So now what we'll do, we'll go inside and we'll have a look at the components inside the house, i.e. The control systems and stuff like that. Hi, okay, now we're inside the house. So I'm going to explain to you now how the system works here. Right. This is our cable that is coming from our turbine. Okay, it's coming up here to this box here, which is basically an on-off switch. You know, very simple, on-off. It goes from here, the power goes from here to a controller. The controller here then transfers the power to our inverter. As you can see, it's a Sunny Boy inverter, made in Germany. Very, very good piece of kit. This is probably SMA are probably the world's leaders in inverters. So this is German, this is German, this is our dump load here, which is also German. Okay, this switch here happens to be English, and we know the turbine is English as well. Okay, so our power goes from the cable, from here to our inverter. Our inverter then converts it to AC current, whatever it's coming in at. The little light there that gives you a reading, it gives you current readings. Every 20 seconds it gives you a new reading. It converts it to AC current to 230 volt and puts it then directly into your fuse board. Right, from the fuse board then outside in the meter box there's a smart meter. So that's what that does. Now in the event of high winds, where we have very high winds outside and our turbine is going like mad, and what we need to protect the inverter from overcharging is this dump load. So in excess, when we have very high winds, and say the turbine is coming in at 2.5 kilowatts per hour, which that's what it's set to maximum, this will dump any excess of 2.5 kilowatts from here into here, and this protects the inverter. So that's it for in here. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a smart meter. Basically, it's an import-export meter, and it tells you how many kilowatts of power you're importing from the national grid and how many kilowatts you export. The button here tells you what you're importing and what you're exporting. That's all that is. So that's how you get paid. The ESB pay you so much a year for what you export. Now, you won't get a lot of money, so anyone that's thinking they'll make money out of this, don't, because you'll get maybe a couple of hundred, maybe 300, who knows. But you won't have any more electricity bills. That's the whole priority of this thing, is to run off your own electricity. So that's all your meter is. Very simple thing. You can't get that installed until after you've had your turbine erected. So the turbine comes first, you get it up and running, you get onto your electricity company, and then eventually, after so many weeks or whatever it takes, and they'll come out and fit you a new meter, a smart meter, or an import-export meter. Okay?